Over in the pages of DC Comics, the villain known as Doomsday is looming large in the background of the publisher's Superman titles. I think this is a really big deal because Doomsday was able to best Superman in the landmark Death of Superman tale. In the pages of Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths and Lazarus Planet, we've seen Martian Manhunter and his supporting cast battle Doomsday through some psychic altercations. Today, we're going to go ahead and take a look at how Martian Manhunter is teaming up with Supergirl to battle Doomsday over in the pages of Action Comics Presents Doomsday Issue 1. Before we get deeper into the video, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button over on our video. Doomsday rules in hell. It is a creature beyond reason and the only force in the universe strong enough to kill Superman. It's Doomsday, the living embodiment of death, destruction, and evolution. In the wake of Dark Crisis and Lazarus Planet, King Doomsday now sits on a throne of skulls across a river of blood, holding court over the demons that swarm in the depths of hell. And he may have just found a way back to the land of the living. It's now up to Supergirl and Martian Manhunter to drive the beast back and see that he never again returns to our earthly plane, even if they must die to do it. Plus, the return of Bloodwynd, the debut of the Doomhounds, and a clue to the next big Superman event. This issue is written over from Dan Watters, featuring art from Eddy Barrows and Eber Ferreira. We have colors from Adriano Lucas, letters from Dave Sharpe, and the cover for the issue is coming in directly from Bjorn Barends. Here's a look over at Doomsday looming large over on the cover of Action Comics Presents Doomsday Special Issue 1. And I want to extend a quick thank you over to Adventures in Poor Taste, and also take a look over at some of the interior art in this issue here. Really thought that artists Eddy Barrows and Eber Ferreira lent something really intriguing over to the pages of this Action Comics special. The amount of details in the artwork from Barrows and Ferreira is just absolutely staggering. I think Doomsday in particular is captured with so much shading across this series. And it's not only Doomsday as well. The amount of detail in both Clark and Kara's faces on some of these pages is absolutely mesmerizing. I think over in some of these pages that we have up on the screen, some of the interior details and the arrangements of the pages is absolutely wonderful here. Even though this is just a scene between Clark and Kara, the way that they're having this discussion of this psychic dream that Kara had over their breakfast is an enthralling way to introduce some of the elements of the series. I think Dan Watters is a great writer who works a lot with thematic elements. In utilizing some of these elements, also introducing plot and stories from Lazarus Planet and Dark Crisis is just a fantastic way to introduce some of these stories here. I also appreciate this next page too, continuing this breakfast sequence between Kara and Clark. Again, in addition to all the fantastic shading here, the way that this page is arranged is just absolutely mesmerizing, featuring Clark in this final panel over in the background of the issue, kind of bleeding out of the page. One really interesting thing I wanted to mention about this first page is the way that Kara is in the background pouring her syrup over on the pancakes. I think shows another dimension over in the panel as we have Kara in the background and Clark in the foreground. So just so impressed with the ways that Barrows takes some of these really like ancillary scenes and introduces so many techniques along with Ferreira to really show just how strong some of this art in Action Comics Presents Doomsday can be. But as you can see here, it's not all just breakfast scenes. When we get a little deeper into the issue here, there's plenty of fisticuffs between Doomsday, Martian Manhunter, and Supergirl, though it might not be located over on our realm. Really enjoyed this page that we have on the screen, showing just all of the shading and lines again on Doomsday and recounting his epic battle over with Superman later on in the storyline. As mentioned earlier, there's so many thematic elements and aspects of the series, but as you get deeper into the book and you see Martian Manhunter team up with Kara, there's actually plenty of action over in this storyline. I was really surprised by how closely Dan Watters, I think, has followed what Philip Kennedy Johnson has written in terms of Action Comics based on the tone alone. I think that this issue is going to sit really nicely against some of the War World storylines and the recent story in Action Comics featuring Metallo as well. I really like how seamlessly this issue manages to fit within Dawn of DC as well, showcasing some characters from the greater Superman line that DC has continued to place an emphasis on between all of these big Superman Dawn of DC titles here. And another great aspect about this issue is how the end of the storyline teased that some of the plot threads are returning over to Action Comics. So love the fact that this issue is kind of establishing the new ideas over for Doomsday and is really setting him up to do battle with Clark and the other supporting cast members. So in addition to the main tale, we also have a second story over in this collection. This one is called Bloodwynd, a Superman for Hell, also written by Dan Watters, featuring art from Max Raynor, colors from Andrew Dalhouse, and letters from Dave Sharpe. So this Bloodwynd story was really thrilling here. Love how closely it tied into the main series, as we get to see a very new DC character, Raphael Arce. Watching Raphael's kind of next steps over in the story was really thrilling. We've seen him show up in some elements of Lazarus Planet, so getting to see his kind of next story directions and where he ends up in the tale is really thrilling here. Raphael starts out in Hell and actually goes a little bit deeper into Hell by the end of this story. He set up a few story ideas and is seemingly taking on the character guys over of Bloodwynd. So really interested to see Bloodwynd return over to DC Comics in this new form. I think author Dan Watters has a great voice over for Raphael, and I think utilizing Bloodwynd in this context of the nightmarish Doomsday makes him look even more interesting as well as a character. I'm really intrigued by how new Raphael is as a hero, and I hope that Dan Watters is able to continue working with both him and Martian Manhunter over in the near future here. The storyline status quo that was set up over in the last couple panels of this Bloodwynd story features a really intriguing direction for this character, and I really hope that we can see them again very, very soon here. I also enjoyed Max Raynor's art. I think Raynor did a great job touching on some of the darker elements of this Bloodwynd story. As a critique, the only thing I had to mention here is that I think some of Raynor's anatomy needs a little bit of work throughout this issue. In addition, I also think that Raynor could find more interesting page layouts in some of these pages as well throughout the comic book page. But for the most part here, I think that some of the imagery and ideas that Raynor was able to find over from Watters' script evoked the tension and nuance for the most part of what Watters is able to capture here. So at the end of the day, I thought this chapter of Action Comics Presents Doomsday Special was pretty intriguing, setting up this new status quo for Doomsday. Doomsday is a very physically imposing villain, so I think the idea of Watters introducing him with a more psychic-based attack is just an intriguing way to show how thoughtful Watters is as a creator here. In terms of the art duty, I really think that Eber, Ferreira, and Eddy Barrows brought something really majestic and interesting over to the pages of Action Comics Presents Doomsday Special. Really hope that Dan Watters is going to be able to work alongside Philip Kennedy Johnson in the near future to continue fleshing out this story. And I'm very mesmerized by the fact that this Doomsday element has been lingering in the background of DC Comics for such a long time, and I feel like eagle-eyed readers could definitely put together from some of the pages of Dark Crisis and Lazarus Planet that this was upcoming over in Action Comics. I want to know from you, did you enjoy this Doomsday special? What do you think of Doomsday kind of resurfacing as this psychic threat here? Were these pages able to capture your interest? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for coming to check out our review of this special Action Comics issue, and we'll be back to cover Superman over in the Dawn of DC status quo. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.